Hello everyone, welcome back. I know it was a short break, but there was a bit of change of plans and forgot to update the schedule. But anyhow, Eric Stoddard is up next for the virtual stage at Around. Please welcome Eric. It's for sure going to be an amazing talk. Eric, yes. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. And would you please activate my camera?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Hi, everyone. How are you? So just to confirm, we have about 45 minutes. Is that right?
We have the full hour.
Full hour. Awesome. I've got a lot to talk about. Thank you. Shout out to Sven Johnson. I see you in the comments. Good to see you again. How you doing? Anyway, I'm going to be sharing some content. So I'm going to be sharing a short presentation to start off. Just going to find it here. Trying to find my, all right, I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. Okay, very good. So I'm going to be sharing a short presentation. I've got a lot to talk about today. I think some of you just heard a very, very interesting presentation. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. I wanted to get a little bit more down to earth and talk more specifically about Gravity Sketch in the automotive design workflow. I have, as a professional and as an experienced professional automotive designer, I've had quite a bit of experience in this arena, and have been involved early on with Gravity Sketch in the use of Gravity Sketch in the automotive design space. So I have a lot of experience and insight into how the tool can be used to really transform the automotive design process. So a little bit about me. Is everyone seeing my presentation, by the way? Just want to make
great.
Sure. Okay, awesome. Okay, yeah. So a little bit about me. I'm an experienced automotive designer with 10 years. The past 10 years at Ford. Prior to that, I was at Hyundai for 9 years, and then prior to that, I was at Chrysler for 4 years. During that time, I've led the design of numerous concept and production vehicles. Most recently, just in the past few weeks, I've joined Icona Design Group out in LA as the design manager. So I'll be running the team out there. If you're not familiar with Icona, it's a global design consultancy specializing in transportation and industrial design, with its home in Turin, Italy, with offices also in Shanghai. So I'm also the founder and creative director for Cardesign.academy, which is, as many of you know, it's an independent online training platform, which is dedicated to reinventing design education. It's something I started about a year and a half ago, just before COVID-19 started. And it's been a personal passion project, which has given me the opportunity to work with dozens of students in a very difficult time. Some of whom were graduating seniors and some of them were displaced professionals who wanted to up their game and build their skills. And many of them found new employment opportunities during this past year and a half, which has been a really, really good result. And as a result, I've been able to build a really strong relationship with Gravity Sketch. More and more students have come to Cardesign Academy specifically for Gravity Sketch training. And so I became a Gravity Sketch certified instructor, and now the vast majority of students come to Cardesign Academy for Gravity Sketch training. And so I've also developed a consulting relationship with Gravity Sketch, which enables me to now energize, train, and implement the use of Gravity Sketch at major automotive design studios. So now I'm training at the corporate level, which is really cool. So I'm really playing a role in helping to spread the use of Gravity Sketch as a legitimate professional automotive design tool in the industry. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the current traditional automotive process and some of the impediments to faster progress, some of the pain points that we often face as designers. I would say the single biggest one that's always it's always been a part of my career is the 2D 3D churn. That's what I call it, which is where you're in a constantly iterative process, and this is a natural part of the design process, and not that we really want to change that. Maybe we want to change how we do it, but there's this natural dissatisfaction with everything we do, and we're always trying to do things better and improve things. And as we move from sketch to 3D model, and we often see things that happen in the model which then affect maybe the model didn't turn out like the sketch, or maybe we see something new in the model and then we want to go back to sketching to explore that a bit further. But because modeling is such a manpower intensive and material intensive process, as well as a time intensive process, we want to believe that whenever we do commit to going to a model, it's worth the commitment, it's worth the investment. And so having that great set of sketches is super important. But it almost invariably ends up going into this back and forth churn, which can be very frustrating sometimes. Also, a lot of times there's a in the relationship that builds between designers and sculptors. Designers and sculptors must have a very strong working relationship to ensure a successful interpretation from a designer's 2D vision into a compelling 3D model. So without that strong communication, a lot of the designer's intent can be lost in the traditional modeling process, especially when you get into a digital-led process. This scene of the designer sitting at the desk of the digital modeler, it's a very common occurrence where there's really very little the designer can do at that moment to give good direction. Oftentimes they have to go back to their desk and create screenshots and draw lines over the screenshots, or give them CV curves from Alias. But it can lead to dozens of additional iterations and lots of additional time spent. Physical models and prototypes are really an essential part to any successful design process, and really no drawing or digital model can replace the ability to see and to touch and to experience a full-size vehicle in a real physical form. But as you know, physical models and prototypes, they require large amounts of time, capital, and resources to develop and iterate. In the past, as technology has advanced, digital modeling, CNC machining, 3D printing, all of those things have streamlined that process exponentially over the past 25 years, but it still remains an extremely time and material intensive process. But not that we want to replace physical modeling, but maybe we can help to streamline that process. And then there's the whole stakeholder decision-making process. Billions are on the line with every vehicle program. Design leaders need to deliver compelling designs that meet strategic, marketing, feasibility, cost, and regulatory objectives. So design leaders have to convince leaders at all levels of the company that the investment is worthwhile, and designs have to pass through many decision points before final approval. And this often means that designs undergo many revisions, leading to more 2D and 3D iterations and more churn and additional time spent. So, Gravity Sketch has, in my opinion, the ability to vastly fast forward the automotive design process. The chief enablers are an integrated 2D, 3D workflow. So designers being able to pass between 2D and 3D seamlessly. Designers, sculptors, and stakeholders able to work together in real time through collab. Designing in human scale, being able to see your design in full size as you're designing it in a digital format. So, that translation that often happens when you're looking at something on a screen and then you see it milled in full scale clay, it often looks very, very different because it's much larger, in much larger scale than you are, and then it was on the screen. So that your perception of surfaces, sections, details, graphics can be very, very different in full size. So the ability to leverage VR to see things in real time in human scale is a huge benefit. Gravity Sketch is capable of producing SubD models, which can be CNC milled, rapid prototyped. So it can really speed up that process as well, the progression into physical models. And then I also believe ultimately that collab or co-creation will enable a new level of stakeholder engagement and faster decision making. I believe that design leaders can benefit from better interaction with their design teams. They can design stakeholders, people from outside the studio, like marketing, product planning, engineering, could integrate in that process in a very new way. That they could participate in that process in a very new way. And I think all of those things combined together can lead to faster iterations and a faster go for one decision making process, and perhaps even reduce the number, not eliminate, but reduce the number of physical models and prototypes that are developed in that time frame. So some of the workflows that I've experienced in Gravity Sketch. I approached Gravity Sketch first as a modeling tool. So I've always been very interested in as a designer, I've always been interested in developing my skills in 3D because I've never been content to just hand a sketch off to a modeler, a digital sculptor or clay modeler. I've always felt that once it leaves my desk, it's out of my control and it often becomes something different than what I intended. And so by having a mastery of 3D, and this is all going all the way back to knowing Alias. And then once SubD and polygonal modeling got really big about 5 years ago with Maya and Speedform, and then finally Alias SubD, and now Blender, it just liberated me so much as a designer, and it gave me so much more hands-on control over the outcome of my design and my design intent. So I first approached Gravity Sketch. What really sold me on Gravity Sketch is when they adopted the SubD modeling work tool set. And so I first approached it more as a modeling tool, where I would execute sketches versus free sketching. So starting with 2D sketches that I developed on paper, bringing them into the Gravity Sketch workspace and using them as templates to develop package models and eventually full-scale surface models. So that's what I call the traditional sketch to 3D process. But then Gravity Sketch enables a lot of other workflows, such as 3D to 2D. So here's a little exercise I did where I used the volume brush as a really quick way to generate some abstract form studies, and then take those images out of Gravity Sketch as screenshots back into the 2D world and into Sketchbook Pro and Procreate, and to do some really cool vehicle rendering concepts. So this is literally sketching in 3D and using it as a form discovery tool versus a form execution tool, and then using that form discovery to inform 2D sketches. And then this is a project where I did a completely Gravity Sketch-led process, no 2D sketching at all. So it started with a series of simultaneous exercises where I developed a quadcopter aerial vehicle as a form study, and at the same time developed a package model of a beautiful front-engined GT coupe. And from there, I used the aerial vehicle as a form study to inform the development of the final vehicle, which basically I took the aerial vehicle, stretched it over the coupe package, and then continued to develop and detail and refine from there. So that was this was my rendition of a classic Mercedes SL coupe. Designing real time and human scale. This is a huge win for interior designers. Being able to actually sit in your interior and literally sketch it around you. knowing exactly where the optimum placement of controls and screens and being able to understand your vision lines and ingress egress and all of those things, and then to be able to literally create the environment through color and materials and form and textures. And so this was an exercise where I developed a full-size truck interior that could convert into a mobile office for someone who might be a business owner. Maybe they own a construction business and they run their business out of their vehicle as they go from job site to job site, and they want a place that they can do their work in peace and calm, and then be able to maybe relax as well, because they might be spending time on overnight trips on the road and things like that. So that was a great example of leveraging the real-time human scale aspect of designing interiors. User experience development, being able to develop not only the vehicle's exteriors and interiors, but to envision the entire experience of a vehicle through creating scenes with mannequins and being able to enact different scenarios. So this was a concept for a rideshare service, which would include both scooters and four-wheel vehicles, and it could be a multimodal service where you could fold up your scooter, take it in the car with you, and deploy it again at the last mile, and it would be this sort of very seamless experience. And then engagement and collaboration and faster decision making through co-creation. This is a scene from one of my Gravity Sketch courses where you can see everybody in the room together reviewing one of the models. It's just such a being able to recreate that studio environment where you have all the sketches on the wall, you have the model on the floor, and everybody's walking around it doing tape lines and tape sessions. And at Icona, I've been able to leverage their clay modeling area to project full scale vehicles right on the floor, where I can just set the controllers down and walk around it without using the controllers at all, and it's really, really cool. I've even had a couple of colleagues join me in walking around the same car in the same room and doing like a little tape session using the controllers. Gravity Sketch can export SubD surfaces and IGES curves directly into Alias, and I'll do a little demonstration on that in a few minutes. So it is a fully capable SubD program. You can transfer files back and forth with Alias sculptors and ultimately get your designs out into full-scale clay or full-scale styrofoam or whatever physical medium you wish. And of course, that streamlines the production of clay and physical models. So with that, are there any questions, Daniela, off the bat?
No, not questions yet. Just a lot of awesomes and hellos from people that
very cool. All right, so I'm going to switch to my virtual camera. I'm going to switch over to Gravity Sketch. And okay, so has everybody been seeing my my Zoom window here?
Yeah, and now,
okay.
now we see your screen. We see
okay.
I mean, we see two things, Eric. Are you sharing your? Yeah, we're seeing Gravity Sketch right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. All right. So you're seeing Gravity Sketch. Okay, very good. So I've got the Zoom thing on here. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to be switching over to Gravity Sketch, and I'm going to show you some completed models. I'm just going to spin around really quick some completed models, and I'll show you a quick SubD demo. Just a second here. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to show you several completed models that I've worked on. So this is the one you've seen already. This is a kind of a rendition of a classic Mercedes SL, which has this very, very soft, sculpted, and voluptuous body side. Now I've kind of debranded the front end, which I actually think makes it look fresher. But you can see it's got this very voluptuous sort of S-curving reflection in the body side. And then a very aerodynamic tapered rear. It's got a full interior. And then to contrast that, you know, because you do see a lot of these very, very soft sculptural vehicles from Gravity Sketch. This is a vehicle I did. This is my rendition of a future Corvette, which has this very chiseled, rigid, you know, very, very chiseled form language, very structured. I wanted to do this to demonstrate that yes, you can do very, very structured shapes as well, with a lot of precision and control. And so even the front fenders have this kind of faceted appearance. It's kind of hard to see here, but then this is an off-road vehicle I did. Again, a very faceted, structured form language. The idea here was that this would be sort of like a future Jeep type of vehicle with an electric powertrain, and because it's electric, you can really push the hood down and have extreme down vision. And it's, you know, it's just this open, fun vehicle. It's packaged after the Wrangler. And then this is a full-size pickup that I developed. This is the one that you saw the interior for. And again, it's kind of an electric vehicle, so it's got a different kind of front end on it. See that with a bit of work, you can have quite a comprehensive exterior and interior. Yeah, that's one of the things I really like about Gravity Sketch, is the ability to work out the exterior and interior simultaneously. I'm just going to show you, give you a close-up view of the interior. So this is the truck interior. So being able to like just sit in the driver's seat in human scale and put your hands on the steering wheel, and being able to touch the touchscreen controls, maybe do some UI layout studies, being able to see and experience all the forms and materials. Here's the off-road vehicle. Everybody hearing me okay? Just want to make sure it didn't switch to the headset. Everybody hearing me okay?
Yes, everyone saying yes.
Okay, great, awesome. Yeah, so this was all about taking away the traditional instrument panel and being able to have this unbridled view of the trail ahead. And for the Corvette, this was all about the driver. So it's sort of like a racing simulator placed inside a vehicle. You can see I gave the seats different colors, so it's really driver focused. The passenger is just there for the ride. I have more of a video game type of interface. So I really love working on interiors in Gravity Sketch.
You know what? I think there's one thing happening. Could you stop sharing your screen so that we can actually, because I think we're seeing your screen share and not your video feed, and the video feed is the one that it's less laggy. So yeah, if you stop screen sharing.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. There we go.
And now,
Okay,
are you using OBS to share it yet, right?
Yes, I am using OBS. Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, much better. Well,
okay.
Yeah, thanks.
So do I need to show anything again?
I think we were all seeing what you were showing, but now it's less laggy. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's better. Okay, yeah, so that's the SL interior. That's the yeah, the Corvette interior. Yeah. So what I'm going to do in a minute here is do a very quick SubD demo. How am I doing on time so far?
You still have 30 minutes. Don't worry.
Okay, great.
Also,
Great.
one thing I would like to remind the audience, if you have any questions, feel free to post them on the chat. If you want to say them yourself, raise your hand and we can open the mics for you while Eric is working.
So just wanted to take you through a really quick demo on how I approach the model of a vehicle. This is called the rig chassis. This is one of your prefab options here. And this is a really great tool for setting up all of the major dimensions of a vehicle. You can either type the numbers into the window here based on package dimensions that you get from the engineering team, or you can just grab the arrows and you can make real-time adjustments. So from there, I'll bring in a side view sketch, and I can align it to the wheels, and then I have pretty much everything I need, and I can look at it in full scale, which is really cool. So what I'll do usually then is I'll do a quick line drawing based on that sketch. This is my 3D line drawing. It's almost like a tape drawing. And so then I have everything I need to do a surface model. So what I'll do then is I'll bring in all my sketches. I'll turn on my mirror plane so I'm symmetrical. You can see I've got a full set of sketches here that I did of a very beautiful Italian sports coupe. And the way I usually approach SubD is I use the stroke tool, and I set it to point mode, ribbon stroke, and then I turn on SubD. You can see I can create these kind of bands of surface. So I'll use that to set up the main character lines of the vehicle. See, and what's really cool is it's already a SubD surface. So from there, I can just extrude shapes. Just extrude shapes straight out of SubD. Now, just like any other SubD program, you can look at it in a polygonal view, or you can look at it in a smooth view. So a lot of times when I'm first setting it up, I'll work in the polygonal view first. You can see how easy it is to add edge loops. If you've ever done SubD modeling before, to just add edge loops is super easy. You can see that the points weld together. Yeah.
Eric, are you open for questions?
Yes, I can talk. I can talk and model. Go ahead.
All right. So, then you should be able to talk now. Let's give it a go.
Hello, Daniela. Hey, Eric, how you doing, man?
Good, good.
Yeah, I had a question for you with regards to when you're doing the modeling of the interiors and you're placing yourself inside of the vehicle and you're showing some of how you're reaching around for the components. I'm wondering if you're using some of the human factors data that's out there for reach ranges and maybe applying them to your body someplace, and if so, how you're doing that, how you're going about determining where on your body you would place those ranges?
So any sort of human factors like engineering information, you can bring that information in quite easily from. So if you're working with an engineer, it's pretty easy to add that information. Otherwise, I just do it by personal feel, right? Because I'm I'm literally sitting in the vehicle and I'm experiencing it for myself. And so I'm able to design the vehicle quite literally around myself. And that's a game changer. So yes, you can import engineering info as needed. But yeah, and you can import any number of file formats like IGES and OBJ, FBX, and that's usually the best way to get that information. So if you're working in a team with engineers, they should be able to get you that information as needed. So you can see how I'm very quickly working to the character lines that I laid out in the sketch, and how easy it is, how streamlined the interface is. A three-dimensional VR interface is absolutely a work of genius, because what would normally take 2 or 3 steps in Alias or Blender, you can do in just seconds, milliseconds. So think just things like the way points weld together. So now I'm going to create this hole in the body side. So just adding an edge loop, that's usually something you have to go through a couple of menus to do, and then to weld points together, you just bring them close together and they instantly weld. So it's just super efficient. That's something that normally takes a few steps in mouse clicks whenever you're dealing with a mouse and keyboard interface.
Hey, Eric, it's kind of quiet, so I want to ask another question. This is Sven
Yeah,
again.
go for it.
Are you guys using bucks of any sort? I was in Autodesk University a few weeks back, and there was one gentleman talking about designing like a kind of a hover bike, and with regards to being able to figure out how a person would lay on it. They wound up doing some bucks. Initially, some of their thoughts were that they would be in one position, and it turned out that when they put the buck together, it didn't really work. So it seemed like having some kind of a something you could sit in. I really want to call it a buck in the same sense that we're talking about now, because I'm thinking of it as kind of a combination with using it with a controller set and a headset. Are you doing any of that kind of stuff where you're combining this with a buck of any sort?
Well, at Ford, I have experience with that. It's really cool when you have a physical buck to compare with. Like, so for example, I built an interior in Gravity Sketch. We milled it in full scale white styrofoam to create a package model, and then we were able to present the model in VR while sitting in the buck. So literally, you'd be looking at the model in VR and being able to reach out, grab a steering wheel, and it's there. It's really physically there. It's pretty amazing. So you can see already I've got this body side pretty well defined. And it's just a matter of controlling the intersections and the transitions. So rather than continue, I'm just going to show you the finished car. Let's see here. So this was the finished car. Oh, let me turn off the sketch here. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah. There it is. Here. So this is this is the completed model with all of the details. You can see how I've done like a full headliner beneath the glass. Then this one's got a full interior as well. This represents probably I'd say between 1 and 2 days, 1 and 2 full days of work, 8 and 16 hours, depending on the design. This one went fairly quickly. So the idea here is that the driver sits in an F1 car in this sort of cockpit-like enclosure. Then the passenger sits in a limousine with a table and a footrest.
Hey, Eric, Sven again. Apologies for
Hey, Sven.
occluding anybody here. Begs the question in my mind. People might want to know what kind of rig you're running this on. How much RAM you're running, that kind of stuff, because I'm curious about that and how many dollars I might be pushing. Yeah,
so I'm right now. This car I did completely on a Quest 2, and it runs fine on a Quest 2. When I was showing the 4 cars together, that's getting pretty heavy for a Quest 2. But right now I'm running off of my my PC. It's a gaming laptop by Lenovo. It's got 16 gigs of RAM. It's got an NVIDIA GeForce GTX graphics card, and it seems to run just fine.
Are you tethered with the Quest or?
Yeah, so I'm using the Quest to tether to the gaming PC.
But can you go solo without the tether? I mean, on a single model, can you do it without the tether?
Yes, yeah. So like as I said, that red car and all of these cars on their own, I did on Quest 2 untethered, exterior and interior. So if you build your topology right, it should be able to handle it. But if your model starts getting too complex with the topology, then it'll start to bog down. So I pulled up this car again, and I wanted to do a quick demonstration on the export process to alias. So this one of the most important things is if you're going to export to alias SubD, the export file has to contain nothing but SubD surfaces. So here I've taken out everything non-SubD, and I'm just going to go into the export settings. It's quite simple. You have you just click your export button. You'll get a little box here that just shows you what's being exported, and then alias requires an OBJ export. So I'm going to set the up axis to Z. I'm going to set the scale to centimeters. And under advanced options, there's two settings here: render and control. Render exports the fully smooth model for visualization in VRED, Keyshot, Blender, or other 3D visualization program. But if your goal is to continue to edit the model, and then you export it in the control setting, that maintains the original topology of the model. So I'm going to set it to control, and then I just export the file. And then it'll upload to my landing pad.
Wow.
So I'm going to go ahead and switch my view back to desktop.
We have a question before we move to the next part, Eric. The
Yes.
8 to 16 hours it took, you said, did that include the concept sketches or just the sketching and modeling inside of Gravity Sketch?
Just the modeling. Yeah, but it depends on the design. A lot of times I'll just create it directly in Gravity Sketch. So let me go ahead and switch to alias. Now I need to share my screen again, I believe. Are you seeing alias?
Yeah, we're seeing it, but it's quite blurry. If you want to share your screen instead.
Yes. So share screen. Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, great. So this is the file as it came in from Gravity Sketch. You can see it's a fully editable SubD model. And I also wanted to add this curve here. If this CV curve, which is editable, that was created also in Gravity Sketch. So anytime you use the ink brush, you can export any of your ink lines as an IGES file, and they will come into Alias as a fully editable CV curve. So even if your goal is to just edit a model and give direction to a digital sculptor, I've done it before where I've imported an Alias SubD model into Gravity Sketch purely for the purpose of reviewing it and giving curves to an Alias modeler and exporting those curves. So and the Alias sculptor can join you in co-creation to see the model for themselves in full size. So it's really there's really a lot of different ways that Gravity Sketch and Alias can be used together. And the reason I say this is because a lot of people don't understand all the different ways that Gravity Sketch can be integrated into the existing automotive design workflow. A lot of people see Gravity Sketch purely as a sketching tool, as a almost just a fun game, or a fun gimmick, where you can sketch in 3D. But it really is a true modeling tool, able to send files back and forth with digital sculptors and ultimately get your designs in full scale clay or rapid prototype. So this is really the bulk of what I wanted to show today is really how all the different ways I've been able to leverage Gravity Sketch in a real automotive design studio workflow. So yeah, with that, I'm open to questions and comments. I don't know how we're doing on time, but any more questions?
We still have 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
All right, so
I can go back and show some of my cars again if you want.
How long would the 8 to 16 hours model have taken using standard modeling software?
Oh boy, double or triple. Yeah, and I think a lot of it is because you just, first of all, the nature of the mouse and keyboard interface it's much more complicated, and the fact that you're not seeing it directly in full scale and human scale in 3D, that translation from the monitor, the desktop monitor, to a physical model it's a huge chasm, and Gravity Sketch can really bridge that chasm.
Can you bring this to Creo?
I've never used Creo. I'm sure you could. Anything that can be exported in OBJ, FBX, or IGES. Those are the primary means of moving files off of Gravity Sketch.
I might be able to answer that. I think this is Sven. I was using it back and forth with Creo a while ago, but it relates to the human factors question I had earlier this was with regards to a large medical device. So in this case, different sized patients could get into this medical device, and they had some control over how it fit around them. So reach was really an important part, and like how their arms were bent. So that's why I was wondering about, like, could you place something relative to an elbow, for example? But I was using Creo. I've been using Creo since the mid '90s, so I've used it a lot for just this sort of thing. SubD. But typically, I don't like the new SubD tools they have in there. I find them a little clunky. But you can kick it out as an OBJ or a number of other file formats that work fine. I find Moment of Inspiration is a good translator, though, if you want to get them into quads. And I know Rhino has the new quad remesher is pretty nice, too. Anyway.
Are you seeing Gravity Sketch again?
Thanks, Ben. No, like, you need to enable your OBS camera. Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. I was just going to try to switch back to Gravity Sketch here. All right, let me just switch to this one. All right.
Everyone, if you have more questions, feel free to post them on the chat. Also, feel free to raise your hand and we can open the mic for you. Don't be shy. Your one and only opportunity to speak with Eric.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm doing with Gravity Sketch is really trying to optimize our training program for success in the studio so that people continually use it after they've taken the training. And so we're constantly relying on good feedback from those who've taken our training. So yeah, we really value that input. Because again, like a lot of people get through the training and they've just maybe learned how to do a quick sketch, but don't realize the extent to which you can take this.
How small of a detail can you model in Gravity Sketch?
As small as you want. Here's a lug nut on a wheel, center nut. That's pretty small. You can basically scale infinitely. So I'm just scaling and scaling and scaling and scaling. You can see that as far as you can scale in, you can model. So just to give you more context, here's a steering wheel. So I can go in and really get small, down to the millimeter.
And so when do you stop with Gravity Sketch and pass to the next thing? You covered Gravity Sketch to Alias. When do you make that break?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Like, when do you stop in Gravity Sketch and move to the next part?
Well, I'm a believer that SubD modeling in general can play a pretty significant role in the design process all the way to a go-for-one design decision. If it were up to me, there wouldn't be any Class A surfacing until a single design is chosen. And because design iteration can happen so much more quickly in any SubD, whether it's Gravity Sketch or Blender or Maya or whatever. But in Gravity Sketch for me, that's my tool of choice, and I will stay involved in the process as long as I possibly can.
Great. I think those were all the questions. Eric, you have a lot of love it and awesome comments. And thank yous. Very inspiring work. I learned a lot from Eric. Okay. That's really one nice comment. Those interiors are incredible.
Yeah. So I know, yeah, I'm sure you've heard quite a few very, very deep and enriching philosophical discussions about the future of design and collaboration. This was a very practical application. I think one of the real potential opportunities for Gravity Sketch is also the engagement of those design leaders and stakeholders in the design process, because being able to meet in here and just do like a quick tape session. So for example, just being able to go in with an ink line and say, okay, I want to change this. I want to change this line. Just being able to do that as a stakeholder, that's tremendous. Maybe I want to change the shape of the DLO, and I want to give direction to my design team. And that's super powerful. because now these curves can be exported as IGES curves directly, to an alias modeler.
Yeah, you're touching something really important. It's it has multiple ways in which you can make use of Gravity Sketch. One is the making of the actual geometry, and the other one is giving direction. The other one is purely having conversations inside of the space.
Yeah, and it's just such a flexible tool. There's no other tool that can give you this kind of engagement and a feeling for what the real object is going to be. You have to see it for yourself. You can edit the lines as well. You can see.
This is awesome. All right, Eric. Well, I think we're getting to the end of the section. Thank you so much for your talk, for walking us through this. As you mentioned, a very practical talk, which is also needed, and it was quite insightful. Everyone, if you are looking to get in touch with Eric, if you want to know more about Car Design Academy, do get in touch with him. He's listed as Car Design Academy on Instagram.
Yes. And thank you, Danielle, for the opportunity. It's I have to say, Gravity Sketch has been an incredible team to work with. They're really, really great people, really responsive and down to earth and easy to work with. I mean, anytime you have product suggestions, product updates, things like that, they're super responsive. Their development team is constantly looking at the user feedback for ideas and how to make it better. So we love to hear from you. We love to stay in touch.
Definitely. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Eric, and everyone else. Stay tuned for Scott Robertson's talk in 15 minutes.